Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, bro. All right. I need your full attention. We're going to go for about 20, 25 minutes. I'm going to move around the room a little bit. Okay, I'm going to interact. I'm going to share some things today I've never shared before that have recently happened in my life. I can promise you, if you pay attention, you take notes, and you have a little different way of thinking, I can guarantee you this has the potential to be the best 20 to 25 minutes of your entire life. Who's okay with that? Okay, who's okay with that? Who's okay with that? Almost all of us. Okay, let's get all the hands. Who's okay with that? Okay, who's okay with that? Right? If you look back in a year and your life is completely different because of this moment today, you're going to wish that you would have been like the person that it actually changed you to raise your hand, right? Okay, so let's try that again. Who's okay with that? Okay, if in a year you look back and everything in your world is different because of what's about to take place today. I want to tell you a quick story of a couple of gentlemen that came to our office by the name of Joe and Alan. And they paid us 5 figures, a significant amount of money, to spend an entire day with me at our office recently. They made $22,000 all of last year. You're like, well, dude, what are they doing spending so much money with you then? They said, dude, we are tired of where we're at. We do not want to be a part of the 92%, and we believe that you can help us change that. Without telling you the end of the story, who believes that was a good decision on their part? Okay, we'll put it out there and see. We spent an entire day together. They struggled. They had a broken business model. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have any people. They were doing it all, and they were not getting in front of anyone every single week. They were trying to grow a call center, a lot of other things. Literally 6 weeks in a row now, they've done over $40,000 in commissions since that day. Was the investment worth it? Should they have done the investment sooner? And when are you going to do an investment like that wakes you up and changes your entire business and your entire game? Because what I can tell you is there are specific moments in my life where I looked back and I woke up because of something that I did when I didn't want to do it. Everybody struggles with getting out of their comfort zone. Everybody struggles to wake up. Everybody struggles that when they start making some money, they get complacent. And most people struggle to ever hire a coach. We have a coach when we were kids. We have coaches in sports. Professional athletes have coaches. Bill Gates even says everyone should have a coach. If it's good enough for Bill Gates, it's good enough for me. Okay? If it's good enough for Bill Gates, is it good enough for you? I want to ask you that today. Because I can tell you that there's been pivotal moments in my career where I finally woke up and said, dude, put your ego aside. Stop thinking you know it all. Stop thinking you're God's gift to the planet and realize you can learn something from every single person that you spend time with. 3.5 years ago, January 2018, I finally woke up and committed to being a different version of me. I believe it's called being a professional versus an amateur. What have you noticed from all the speakers on stage today? Are they professionals or are they amateurs? Are they serious or are they casual? And I want you to ask yourself right now, are you serious or are you casual? Are you a professional or are you an amateur? Are you going at this thing as hard as you possibly can, or are you just floating through life because that's what people do? Are you in a spot where you're just lazy and you're just lethargic and you're just doing it because, oh, I'm in insurance, so that's what we're supposed to do? Or are you going about this thing like, dude, I'm going to make one incredible day, one incredible week, one incredible month, one incredible year, one incredible decade, and one incredible career? One thing my dad's always said is if you can have enough good days, you will have an incredible career. If you can have a successful day today and tomorrow and the next day, you can have a successful career. You just got to string enough good days. I'm going to share with you right now something I've never done. This is my original goal book that goes back all the way to 2016, 2017. And I'm going to read a few things in here that I've been writing down for the last 5 years. I have a question for you today. Who writes down their goals every single morning? Okay? Most people do not do that. That's the one single task that I do every single day, and when I don't do it, I want to slap myself in the face because I attribute all my success to this one single action every day. So I'm going to look back in here. We're going to go back memory lane for a second, right? My wife and I were writing, we would love to take an anniversary trip for $1,000. I'm like, why couldn't I think a little bigger than that? I look at that now, I'm like, is that a joke? We really wrote that? I also wrote, back in 2017, I will earn $300,000 the last 6 months of 2017. We do that every 10 days now. Why? Because I made a commitment and a decision to actually start waking up and writing down my goals and believing and become a professional versus an amateur. Professionals commit to doing something and they actually do it. They don't just show up, right? Because you got to go. One thing I say a lot, you got to go there before you can go there. You've got to actually go there before you can go there. Like one of the things I wrote down literally before I came on stage 3 times, and I write down every single morning, is that I'm the #1 speaker on planet Earth. Literally 2.5 years ago was my first time ever speaking on stage, and I can promise you it didn't sound like what it sounds like right now. And I'm still nowhere near the #1 speaker on planet Earth. Eric Thomas will make me look like child's play come July, I can promise you. Okay, Les Brown, interviewing Les Brown and Brian Tracy recently were one of the highlights of my life. I'm sitting there interviewing Brian Tracy for 8% Virtual, the virtual conference that we did for 10,000 insurance agents, and I'm getting goosebumps. I'm almost tearing up, and I'm listening to him speak, and I'm supposed to be asking him questions, and I'm like, why am I talking? Just shut up and let this dude talk, man. What do I need to talk for? He's the GOAT of sales. The very first sales book I ever picked up was The Art of Closing the Sale by Brian Tracy. That is, hands down, the best sales book on the planet. If you never listened to it, I want to encourage you to do that. Okay, The Art of Closing the Sale by Brian Tracy. My hope is that I can eventually put out a sales book that is maybe half as good as that one, and how much that has meant in my life. There's been several people and pivotal moments along the way that have changed and shaped me. My father being one of the first ones, right? Seeing my mother, how she disciplined me as a kid and made sure that I did what I said I was going to do and what she wanted me to do. I remember when I was 16, I was in the driveway. I was supposed to go work at Apple Market right up the street in Rogersville, Missouri. Like a 16-year-old kid, I'm sick, I'm throwing up. I do not feel like going to work. Who's had those days, by the way? Okay? Who's had those days? You're like, man, I do not feel like going to work today. I do not feel like showing up. I want to be an amateur, not a professional. And I look at my dad, I'm like, Dad, I do not feel like going to work today. I do not feel well. I'm throwing up. He said something that changed my life forever, and I have better days now because of what he told me then. He said, son, you do whatever you want to do, but you know what I would do. I've never seen that man miss a day of work in his life. He outworks everyone I know. I try to keep up with him, and I still can't. But I can tell you, I operate our companies and our businesses more like a professional than an amateur now. I look back, and literally 3 years ago, we were doing, January of 2018, we did $66,000 in a month. Which sounds cool, sounds good, okay? Also, you'll learn, like, if it's ever about the money for you, you'll slow down. Who's ever had that moment where you're like, dude, I got the money, and you slowed down? Truthfully, honestly, who has the guts to actually raise your hand and admit that, okay? Because I can promise you, I did too. Looking back now, 41 months later, between all the companies, we do over $1 million a month. Why? Because I finally got out of my own way and started to hire and put incredible people around us. Because what I'm doing, I'm coaching. I coach insurance agents for as much as $60,000 a year to as little as $997 a year. So nobody has any excuses that I couldn't be your coach today. Okay. Homeless people can come up with $900. Trust me. They do every day. But what I've learned by doing that is that there's a lot of insurance agents making $100,000, $200,000 to $600,000 a year. A plethora of them. And they're trying to do it all. They barely have a team. They're drowning. They hate their life. They all of a sudden hate their career because they're having to do it all. At some point, they got to learn how to scale a company outside of them. If it's all about you forever, you will never actually scale a real brand, right? If it's all about you forever, you will never actually scale a real company, right? Like when we first decided to do 8% Nation in 2018, it was simply because I went to a conference 10X in Vegas, which I spent $15,000 for at Grant Cardone's office. And I had never spent that much money in my life. My family and all my friends thought I was freaking nuts. And I kind of did too. But I can tell you that was a wake-up moment for me. So the question is, what's your wake-up moment right now? Because ever since then, going to that has changed our brand, it's changed the industry, and it's helped a lot of people. My father and I, fast forward a few months, May of 2018, we're sitting in a pool, and I'm talking about the idea of a conference. He's like, you should do it. How many of you have people like my family and my parents to speak confidence into your life? Like, you've ever heard the most successful people in the world, right? They always say you can identify your net worth by the 5 people closest to you, your network, right? I can tell you that the one thing that has given me the most confidence to do the freaking crazy stuff, and I haven't even shared the craziest thing I've ever done yet, by the way. The craziest I've ever done is because my parents made me believe as kids I could do anything. You need people in your life that make you believe you can do anything. You don't need the naysayers and all the haters, right? Like, you jump into my world for a day and see the 800 comments a day on YouTube that we get about how I'm a scam and I'm not helping the industry and I'll charge tickets for a conference. It's like, you try to throw a $500,000 event and not charge for tickets. That's suicide. That's stupid. Along the way, 8% Nation and growing multiple companies in a brand woke me up. It made me get out of my own way and realize, man, if you don't screw it up, you got something special here. And each one of you, if you don't screw it up, you got something special here. So let's see what else I wrote. January 8th, 2018. I own a private plane. December of the same year, same thing. January of the next year. June of last year. May of this year. And I'm telling you that right now because back in January, I committed and I said, I put in my notes, my preferred plane is a Cessna 414, right? As an initial aircraft, it's perfect. 7-seater, pressurized cabin, multi-engine. My goal is to travel and speak every single week, which I've just about done this year. And a plane would help. True or true? Right? True or true? You guys still with me? True or true? It would help, wouldn't it? Who wouldn't want to fly on a private plane, by the way? Okay? Like, I think everybody would. Truthfully, right? Nobody really wants to fly commercial. Nobody really wants to go through TSA. Nobody really wants to be told how much freaking, how many swim trunks you can bring on your trip. Right? Nobody really wants to have to wear a mask and sit in a can with 250 other people like you're a herd of cattle. Like, nobody really wants to do that. I've been writing down for several years that I would own a private plane. So I say back in January, in my notes, I want to buy a Cessna 414. A local guy's like, dude, you don't want that plane. You want my plane. And I'm like, well, he's got a lot more money than me, so maybe he's right. Right? Like, that moment of doubt creeped in. I'm like, maybe he knows something that I don't. Or maybe he needs to just realize, dude, I'm not you yet. But I will be, trust me. So, 4 months go by. Now we're May of this year. I go speak at DLI Mastermind in Austin, Texas. Literally, I spoke Saturday morning. Today's Thursday. After I speak, another gentleman gets up and speaks by the name of Tom Love. And he says, I own a private airplane. And I flew here on a private airplane. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I'm like, who is this dude? So I literally corner him in the hallway for like an hour and a half asking him plane questions. And you know what he says? He owns a Cessna 414. Who's had doubt creep into your mind? Who's allowed someone to implant something in there that you don't need to listen to? Like, quit listening to the dumb stuff that people say. So, I look at Andy. This past Saturday, I said, I will buy a Cessna 414. I'm doing it. I'm tired of waiting. Is it a risk? Sure. Who freaking cares? You only live once. I'm 30, right? I can financially recover. Like Tiger King says, oh, hopefully I'll eventually financially recover from this. I'm sure I will. How funny was that TV show, by the way? Okay. So we're in the airport in Dallas on the way back home Saturday night. This is literally 4 or 5 days ago. I'm on Controller and Trade a Plane, all these other sites, looking up Cessna 414s. I find one in Oklahoma. I call the guy. I get some specifics, get some details. I'm looking at it. I get home. I land at like 8 o'clock. I get home at like 8:30, 8:45. I call the guy at like 8:51 p.m. on Saturday night. I'm like, I'm in. I want the plane. He's like, well, the problem is, I'm like, gosh dang it, here we go. There's a lot of details when you're buying a plane, by the way. So the gentleman says, hey, we actually have a client. We already committed the plane to them. We gave them like it's their plane now. I'm like, well, have they signed an agreement? No, but they said they're buying it. Have they given you any money? No, but they said they're buying it. I'm ready to give you money, and I'm ready to sign an agreement. He said, well, I'll keep you posted. So I start following up. Email, text, call, voicemail, email, text, call, voicemail, email, text, call, voicemail, email, text, call, voicemail. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Monday, he's like, man, they said the owner still wants it, so we still got to give it to them. I'm like, dude, I'm your man. I'm your dude. I will wire you money. I will sign an agreement today. I am your guy. Trust me. You want to sell the plane to me. I will follow through. Finally, I get a text, 10:38 a.m. on Tuesday morning, literally 2 days ago. And he says, we're tired of waiting on them. If you still want it, the plane is yours. I'm in the bathroom. I pick up the phone and call the guy. I'm like, I'm in. I will sign an agreement now. Tell me where to wire the money. I want the plane. Finally, I've bought a private airplane. Which my mom thinks is freaking insane, by the way, okay? I actually go see it Saturday. We do a pre-buy inspection early next week, and we close the next couple weeks. But I tell you that because I believe anyone can have anything they want whenever they want it if they will just simply write it down every day. Some of you are like, dude, that's hogwash. There's no freaking way. I can promise you, if a kid from Wynn, Arkansas, right, with some okay sales skills, a good work ethic, no money when I'm 20, jumping in insurance, can actually commit and write that down and do it when I'm 30, you can too. Now, you can't do it when you're 30 if you're older than 30. However, you can still do it too. So, the question is, if you were going to write down your goals every day, what would they be? If you were going to design your ideal life, what would it look like? I believe there's something called limiting beliefs that are holding each one of us back from achieving a higher version of ourselves. Every time before I speak, I listen to T.D. Jakes and Les Brown. So when Joshua Youngs is up here, I sneak out of the room, I jump in my car, I listen to this track for 5 minutes and 40 seconds, and I come back in. If you start speaking a lot, you got to be in the zone, right? You got to be you. Based on what you've heard today, who believes that you've been missing the boat with the goals thing? If this doesn't prove it, I don't know what will. We now have a custom CA goals journal because that's how freaking important it is. I write down now 7 goals every single morning. It forces me to be more creative. It forces me to think bigger. It forces me to operate at a higher level of myself because I can tell you, if you write something down long enough, you will find a way to make it true. That I can guarantee you. You're like, dude, I mean, because now I'm writing down, we have a 4-story glass office tower in Springfield, Missouri with a helicopter pad on top. My mom's probably like, please stop writing that down. Because when you write stuff down, it comes true. Stop it. I can tell you write something down long enough. Like, who's heard me? Who's followed me on YouTube or Facebook or heard me, a video, an interview, or a speech or whatever before today? Okay, cool. Now, who's heard me talk about the plane thing before today too? Wow, interesting, right? Put it out in the world. Talk about it enough. Write it down enough. It will happen. 100%. Even if you don't believe it. Honestly, that's the biggest problem that salespeople, entrepreneurs, interest agents struggle with is personal confidence, by the way. The number one thing humans struggle with on planet Earth is personal confidence. How you talk to yourself matters. Are you telling yourself you're a dummy? Are you telling yourself you suck at sales? Are you telling yourself you're bad on the phone? Are you telling yourself you're not a closer? Are you telling yourself you're not a freak like Joshua Youngs? What are you telling yourself? Because how you talk to yourself matters. And for you to go there, you got to go there. For you to go there, you got to go there. For you to go there, you got to. And it starts with believing in you. It starts with believing in you. I'm going to give you 5 steps to scaling a real company right now over the next couple minutes. I promised I would wrap up short. I got excited and never actually pulled out my notes. Okay. That's also why I don't use a PowerPoint, because it just totally throws me off. When you start speaking a lot, the greatest speakers in the world never use a PowerPoint, by the way. And if you want to be great, I'm going to start acting like they do, right? Why not? Step number 1, 5 steps to actually scaling a company. Number 1, you need to get known. People need to know who you are. I can tell you, 5.5 years ago, no one knew who we were. Now we have hundreds of thousands of insurance agents following us, not because I'm any better than anybody else. Maybe I'm better looking than most people. That's okay, right? That's at least what my wife says. But however, it's simply because I was putting out content consistently. Like, if you want to get known, could you get known? Truthfully, if you wanted to get known, could you get known? If you wanted to get known, could you get known? That means most people don't want to. Or don't know how. There you go. That's a good answer. Professional versus an amateur. Number 2. Attract. You need to get to where you are attracting people from everywhere. Prospects and agents, by the way. You think Josh attracts people? You think Brian Askins attracts people? You think Tom Hegna attracts people? Right? You think Josh Burns attracts people? And you're going to attract a lot of the wrong people, by the way. So you got to weed those out, because that'll cancel everything out that you got going on. Number 3, hire up. Hire up. For example, our team, who's right here right now, Nick's VP of Sales, Dylan's head videographer, Brett's in charge of media, Cassie's in charge of social events, Andy is my COO. A good amount of our team is here helping, because this event and pulling this off for SIG and all of our team and all the agents that are here is extremely important. Andy found me, but what I didn't know is, after he found me, he was offered an assistant coaching position for baseball with Villanova. Would your team members choose you over Villanova? That's the real question. Do you regret a second turning down Villanova? Why not? And where we're going. Get your team on board with your vision, your mission, where you're going. Like, what is your mission statement? Ours is to help every insurance agent in the world. You need people on board with that. So you got to hire up, which is number 3. Number 4, know your numbers. We do a profit and loss on our salespeople every single month. Know your numbers. I met with a gentleman making $160 million a year at an event that I paid for. And we were up late talking, and I was asking him questions because I'm always very inquisitive. And we've got this whiteboard up, and we're whiteboarding our companies and going through the organizational structure of our companies. And he's like, okay, who does this? I'm like, I do. Okay, who does this? Me. 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 Does this sound familiar, by the way, to anybody? Who does this? Me. Who does this? Me. Who does this? Me. He's like, that's your problem. You can't do it all. He's like, why do you even do it all to begin with? I said, because I'm the best at all of it. He's like, that's another problem. Your ego is getting in the way of your success. He's like, you want to hire people that are better at certain positions than you are. That's why every time we hire someone between SIG, SAM, and CA, we have over 100 staff, by the way. Every time we hire people, we ask them, I have Andy ask himself when he's interviewing them, do they make our team worse, the same, or better? And if they do not make our team better, we don't hire them. This ain't a charity. This is a company. This is a business, right? We're trying to go places. Some of you need to fire some people on your team right now, by the way. Is it a business or is it charity? Are you professional or are you an amateur? Number 5, think bigger. The number one thing that I struggled with up until the last 3 years was thinking bigger. And I can tell you now, I'm still not thinking big enough. Because everything I write down comes true. I'm like the fairy godmother or something. What's going on over here? Because if you write it down long enough, you will have it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's that you want to give $1 million to charity at a gala. I don't care. You write it down long enough, you will find a way for it to become reality. I have a couple questions in closing. Who wants to be more successful than you are today? If I brought the most successful, wealthiest people in the world from around the world on this stage right now, and they said to do something, who would listen to them? Who would actually do it, by the way? I mean, it's good that you're raising your hands, but most of you wouldn't. That's the problem. If they said, do this, who would do it? You're like, well, it depends what it is. Does it really depend what it is? If they said to write down your goals every single morning to start your day, who would leave starting tomorrow morning, maybe starting now so you can count today, actually writing down your goals every single day? If the most successful people on the planet said to do it, who would actually do it? That's the difference between someone being serious and casual, being a professional, and being an amateur. I can tell you, Grant Cardone, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Bill Gates. Do I need to name any more names? Guess what they all say to do? Write down your goals every single day. But nobody ever does it because we're casually floating through life. We're not picking it up. We're not waking up, and we're not doing whatever we can to succeed at our highest level. Even if you won't do it for you, do it for somebody else. Because I can promise you, it's not about the money for me. It's not about doing X or this or that. It's just that simply, as an entrepreneur, I enjoy the journey of trying to do a lot and accomplish a lot. Last question. If you allowing me to coach you for the next 12 months on some level or some form, if I could guarantee you it would change your life forever, who would actually do it? Seriously, though, who would actually do it? Because I can tell you it will. David Camper, has it helped your business? 100%. Joshua Young, has it helped your business? That's the difference between professionals and amateurs. Being serious and being casual. I want you to look back in 10 years and not recognize the person that you are today. But it's going to be the decisions that you make in this moment that decide what's actually happening for you in 10 years. Thank you, guys.